Hello everyone and a very warm welcome to this new video. It's great to have you back again. Today, I have the smallest battery-powered blowers from Makita in the 18-volt LXT format for you. You can already see them here on the table. We're talking about the Makita DUB185 and the Makita DUB186, these two mini blowers. We'll find out what they're really capable of, if they're even capable of anything at all, and whether investing in them is worth it. I'd say let's find out together. That's why we'll start right after the intro. But, as always, if you haven't already, quickly subscribe to this channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any new videos in the future. You'll find the current prices for these two mini devices below in the video description. Thank you so much for your support, and with that, let's get started after the intro. Let's be honest, I'm a bit biased when it comes to these two mini blowers from Makita. I mean, you probably can't expect that much from something this small, right? Or can you? I'd say that's exactly what we'll be figuring out in today's video. So let's dive straight into the unboxing, starting with the smaller blower, the DUB185. As you can see right at the top, we first find the usual paperwork. That means the user manual, safety instructions, warranty terms, and also a small promotional brochure are included. And as you can see, this user manual appears to be for both the Makita DUB185 and the DUB186, so we can expect the same manual for the other device here as well. Next in the product box, we find the actual blower, the DUB185, along with the rubber blower tube. And that's it. Nothing else comes with this blower. I'd say let's move right on to the slightly larger version, the Makita DUB186. Let's see what's inside the product box here. Who would have guessed? Of course, there aren't any major differences here either. So, once again, the same pile of paperwork, just like with the DUB185. And, as predicted, the same manual is included for this device as well, along with the rest of the paperwork, which is essentially identical. What's different, of course, is the device itself, as well as the much longer blower tube compared to the DUB185. And here we have the two mini 18-volt blowers from Makita, the DUB185 and the DUB186. As you can see, externally, these two devices are almost identical, if not completely identical. That means the difference between these two is really quite difficult to spot, but there are said to be small yet significant differences. Yes, I can hardly believe it myself. I've rotated, flipped, and examined both devices dozens of times from every angle, and I couldn't find any difference externally. If I hadn't known they were two different devices, I definitely would have assumed they were the exact same device. Still, there are at least two distinct differences between these seemingly identical devices, which I'll discuss in detail later in today's video. So, externally, these two devices are completely identical and could essentially be treated as the same device from an outside perspective. Let's do a quick weight check. Starting with this one here, which is the DUB186. As you can see, we have a net weight of just 1,130 grams, so really very light. Now for the DUB185. This one weighs exactly 1,130 grams as well, so just as heavy as the DUB186. So there's no difference in weight either. Of course, the weight on its own doesn't tell us much, as we obviously need a battery to operate a cordless blower. I'd say for such a mini device, a 3 amp-hour battery, or maybe even just a 1.5 amp-hour battery, should be more than sufficient. But if we fully equip the blower, that is, with a large 18-volt 5 amp-hour battery, we get a total weight of around 1,760 grams. Apart from the fact that this mini leaf blower will likely run for what feels like an eternity with a large 18-volt 5 amp-hour battery, it's still extremely light at around 1,700 grams, making it really pleasant to handle. The device, or rather both devices, are typically well made by Makita. That means we have clean, smooth edges everywhere, no plastic residue or anything like that, and the transitions between the plastic and rubberized parts are really neat and precise. The casing is made from thick, durable plastic, giving it a robust and solid impression. And of course, the device itself remains nice and light, overall 1,760 grams with the large 5 amp-hour battery. This also contributes to the handling of these mini blowers. On the one hand, the device is super light, making it ideal for handling. And on the other side, you'll also find a highly ergonomic and comfortable handle on the back. Everything in black features a large rubberized area that ensures the handle is nice and non-slip. In terms of ergonomics, there's definitely nothing to criticize in my opinion. On the underside, we find the battery compartment for the 18-volt LXT batteries, easily identifiable by the logo here. This means that you can only use 18-volt batteries with these two devices. 14-volt batteries or anything similar won't work here. Also, if you want to achieve the longest possible runtime, I recommend using a larger battery, like a 5 or 6 amp hour one even, for these small devices. The battery is inserted into the compartment from the back as usual, nothing special there. It clicks into place automatically, and because of the design, you can directly check the battery level on the battery itself at the back. There's no additional battery level indicator on the device. It's also worth mentioning that with the battery installed, both blowers are well balanced, meaning the center of gravity is nicely in the middle of the device. So, when the blower tube is attached at the front, or when you hold the device, you won't need to make much effort to stabilize or steer the leaf blower securely. As for the controls, both of these leaf blowers have exactly two. First, there's the typical trigger to control the airspeed, just like on any other device. The trigger itself is very smooth, with no sticking or anything like that, and I have to say, this allows for very precise control of the device. Directly above the trigger, there's another small black switch for speed regulation. Both the Makita DUB185 and the DUB186 have this identical switch to pre-select the speeds. As you can see right next to the switch, there's also a small number. Both devices have a total of 3 preset levels, which can be selected using this small switch. I have to admit the number is quite small and a bit hard to read, but right next to it, there's a small diagram that symbolizes the 3 speed levels. Since this is a rocker switch that goes all the way through the handle and looks identical on the other side, just mirrored, it makes it easy to operate the device comfortably, whether you're right-handed or left-handed. I have to say, even though the switch for the 3 speed levels is just as small as the numbers, in my opinion, it's still quite convenient to use since the switch goes all the way through. You can easily control it with both fingers, your index finger and thumb. The same goes for the Makita DUB185. As I said, in this regard, both devices are completely identical. Now let's move a bit forward to the turbine or motor. As you can see, this part is just as compact as the entire blower. On both the Makita DUB185 and DUB186, the turbine is located on the left side under this turquoise cover with the Makita logo on it. Also visible on the left is the intake vent, and logically, the air comes out from the front. As you can see, both the intake vent and the outlet are designed so that no large foreign objects can get inside. This means accidentally putting your fingers inside is basically impossible, which helps prevent the turbine from being accidentally damaged. It's worth noting that both devices can be used not only as regular blowers, but also as vacuums. You can easily attach the blower tube on the left side to serve as a suction tube and mount a collection bag on the outlet side, for example. However, as we saw, the collection bag is not included in the package for either device and is sold separately as an optional accessory. This means that both of these mini devices can easily be used as vacuums in a workshop. For example, to vacuum up sawdust or other small debris. Of course, leaves from the yard won't fit, and you should avoid vacuuming stones or similar objects to prevent damaging the turbine. When it comes to the blower tube, this is where you'll find one of the biggest differences between the two devices. As previously shown, the Makita DUB185 comes with this small, flexible rubber suction or blower tube, which is completely bendable. This can be mounted at the front as a blower tube or on the side as a suction tube. With the Makita DUB186, it comes with this longer blower tube, which is made of hard plastic instead of rubber. I assume it's primarily designed as a blower tube because it has a slight curve at the bottom, which makes blowing leaves or sawdust much easier. That said, this blower tube can also be mounted on the side and used as a suction tube. The mounting process is super easy as well. You can see 2 small notches that simply snap into the device, then you twist it, and the suction or blower tube is securely attached. It's also possible to swap the blower and suction tubes between the two devices. Since both devices are extremely identical, you can use the longer blower tube from the DUB186 on the DUB185 and vice versa. On the other side of these mini blowers, we find the core component, the motor. It's important to note that both devices don't have a brushless motor, but a standard brushed motor, which still delivers decent power. Both devices run at the same no-load speed, up to an impressive 18,000 RPM. However, there are performance differences between the two when it comes to air speeds. Surprisingly, the Makita DUB186 is the weaker of the two, delivering just around 244 km per hour in airspeed, while the Makita DUB185 reaches up to 350 km per hour, giving it an extra 100 km per hour, even though both devices are otherwise identical. It's possible that the speed difference isn't due to the devices themselves, but to the different blower tubes. The blower tube on the DUB185 narrows significantly towards the end, while the tube on the DUB186 maintains a constant diameter. I'm not 100% sure about this though. If any of you have more detailed information, feel free to share it in the comments below. I'd definitely appreciate it. Otherwise, we'll have to wait and see what the test results show. On the other hand, it must be said that while these two mini blowers deliver extremely high air speeds, they provide a relatively low air volume. Both blowers offer the same air volume of 3.2 cubic meters per minute. In comparison, for example, to this blower here, the 40-volt model, which delivers a maximum of 16 cubic meters per minute, but is also significantly larger. While we're on the topic, here are a few more blowers: the 18-volt model Makita DUB184, the 36-volt blower DUB362, and, as just shown, the 40-volt model, the UB001. I've already presented and tested all three devices separately. If you haven't seen those videos yet, you should definitely check them out. I'll link them here at the top right on the info card. So far, so good. But today's video isn't about those devices, it's about these two small mini blowers, which we will now put through a practical test to see what they are truly capable of. So I'd say sit back and relax. Now let's get started with the practical test. To ensure consistent conditions for this test, I'm using a large 18-volt 5 Ah battery for both devices. Both batteries were fully charged before the test. Additionally, it's worth mentioning that both devices were set to the highest power level, which is level 3 for the entire test. I then selected an appropriate test area for the devices. I decided to start with a relatively low level of stress and gradually increase it. I began by testing both devices on a hard surface with light debris. To fully focus on each device and better perceive the differences, I chose to use them one after the other. The DUB186 had no issues handling the dry leaves, as you can see. The device definitely has enough power for that. However, I immediately noticed that it struggled with slightly thicker twigs. The advantage, the long, curved blower tube, makes the device particularly ergonomic to use, so you don't have to bend down to get good results. It looked quite similar with the DUB185. While this blower has a relatively short blower tube, surprisingly, it didn't feel like a disadvantage in this case. Even though you stand upright holding the blower, making the distance to the leaves significantly greater, the device showed no difference in the results. On the contrary, at times I felt that the DUB185 had fewer problems with small twigs and could blow them farther across the paved surface. So, both devices had no issues handling small amounts of dry leaves on solid ground. But since that's not always the norm, I tested both devices again on uneven ground and compared the results. In this case, as you can see, there was much larger foliage, needles, and acorns on a rough, grassy surface. With both devices in hand, I tried to thoroughly clean the area. By alternating between the two, I hope to notice differences in handling and performance. As I had suspected, I couldn't really perceive any significant differences, so I didn't want to draw early conclusions. The only thing that stood out was again the handling, due to the difference in blower tube lengths. Lastly, I decided to do a third and final test. This time, also on uneven ground, but on a flat sandy surface with leaves and a few scattered flowers. I started by using both blowers with their original nozzles and then swapped them regularly. And lo and behold, once I tested both devices with the same nozzle, there was a slight but noticeable performance difference which I hadn't detected earlier. In my opinion, the Makita DUB185 performed slightly better with both blower tubes, despite both devices having the same form factor and weight. So, if you're looking for a truly lightweight and compact battery blower in the 18-volt format, you won't be disappointed with either of these devices. Of course, you shouldn't expect the power of a large 40-volt blower, but I must admit I was really surprised by the maximum performance these two small blowers can deliver. Additionally, due to the very lightweight and compact designs of both blowers, I personally found the handling very comfortable. Even after extended use at full power, without regularly switching the blower between hands, I didn't feel like my forearm was about to give out. So, in the end, if you want to get the maximum out of the mini battery blower, I would recommend going for the DUB185. That said, you can also purchase the longer blower tube as an optional accessory, although in my opinion, it's not really necessary. That's it for me for now. I'd love to hear your thoughts on these two mini blowers. Feel free to share them in the comments below. And otherwise, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to show it with a big thumbs up, and if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to make sure you don't miss any new videos. You can find the current prices of these mini blowers in the video description below. Thank you very much for your support, and with that, take care, and I'll see you next time. Until then, goodbye.